episode 1, season 1 of Clown World. It's a podcast with me, Leo Kearse, going through topical stories and videos in the media. And for this one, for the inaugural one, the very first one, apart from the pilot I did with Darius, I'm joined by Lewis Schaffer, comedian extraordinaire and star of GB News.
Star, I am a star.
Yeah.
I've been on it 25 times, I think.
25 times?
Yeah.
I thought it'd be more than that.
It seems like more because they've been horrible, most of them. I've been horrible.
Do you not enjoy
being on GB News?
TV?
I enjoy it. I don't enjoy being. Do I enjoy being on TV? I would prefer to perform for an audience, a live audience, than being on TV. But TV, it sounds good. People like it. You get more friends out of it.
Yeah.
You know, people like you more when you've been on TV, but the actual interaction with another human being, believe it or not, I like more.
Yeah, and I think that's why we have a live studio audience for some shows, because you sort of need that feedback loop, and to be able to perform, you need that reaction in the room. But TV is just so much nicer than doing live stand-up, because they send a car for you and they treat you like a human being, whereas with
they send a car for you.
Do they not?
Did you believe me there?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
Fantastic actor.
I didn't think you're acting in a film right now with...
Well, the film is over. I'm not acting in it. They moved out of town. I was with Bradley Cooper.
Yeah.
It was me and Bradley Cooper.
Yeah? You're the love interest.
No, as a matter of fact, but I could have been the love interest, because at the time this was about him being gay in the 1970s.
Right.
And
I didn't know Bradley Cooper was that old.
He wasn't old, but the person he played Leonard Bernstein, being gay in the 1970s. And
is he a composer?
You know who Leonard Bernstein is?
No, I don't.
No, Leonard Bernstein was a superstar of his era. He was like the first American leader of an orchestra in America. They used to get foreigners to come in, and he was like the great. It was like after World War II, and everyone felt guilty about the Holocaust. So if you were a Jew, they'd bring you to the forefront. I shouldn't say this, but it was bad. It was like they had a Jewish...
That's a very Kanye West thing to do.
You know what?
They control the orchestras.
Well, they did.
Well, I guess the composer does.
Yeah, it was. Well, now it's like other groups are now in charge. You know, just the way the world works. You know, one day you're the top dog, and the next day you're a cat.
Yeah.
Or, is that a good example?
That makes sense. You're getting chased around by the dog. Funnily enough, talking about Kanye West, I don't know if you saw the interview that he did. Or did you see the?
Was that the one?
Kanye West did this tweet, and then it all kicked off. He tweeted, so he said, "I'm feeling a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people, and Jewish people is in capitals to make it." It's really bizarre. Like, it sort of takes the sting out of it about the fact that he says, "I'm feeling really sleepy tonight." It's like, I don't think Hitler ever started one of his rallies with, "I'm feeling a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, oh my God, there's going to be some Nazi stuff going on."
Yeah.
So he said.
So you're saying he doesn't believe what he's saying that much?
No, I think he does believe it, or he definitely believed it in the moment. It's very believable. There's nothing, there's no irony or any sort of plausible deniability there. But he says the funny thing is, I can't actually be anti-Semitic because black people are actually Jews, and also you guys have toyed with me and tried to blackball whoever opposes your agenda. It's not the best constructed sentence, but
for a black guy, it's very good.
It's
Sorry, that was a joke. Is that horrible?
Now we just got cancelled from another dozen clubs. Lewis, thanks for that. But no, basically, that's a what do they call it? A Zionist conspiracy or something? The black Israelite. I don't know. Somebody I've got a Jewish friend who's trying to explain it to me. That's also a sort of anti-Semitic conspiracy.
To say that he's black, to say that he's a Jew.
To say that black people are are Jews, or black people are the original Jews, or some I don't even know what it is, but there is some sort of conspiracy theory around that. But so then Kanye West, he got blackballed from everything. He's even been removed from his wax figure's been removed from Madame Tussauds. There's a picture there of him with his ex-wife, the waxwork of his ex-wife Kim Kardashian, who, I mean, to be honest, she looks really like the real Kim Kardashian because they're both made out of the same material.
Yeah. She's got less wax in that than she does in real life.
You got to worry, if he turns up to see her own waxwork, they might remove the wrong one. But yeah, so Jeremy Kaufman went through, he pointed out that if you go through all the newspaper headlines about whiteness and replace whiteness with Jewishness, they all sound like Kanye West tweets.
So he just that wasn't an article in The Guardian, how Jewishness posed.
No. So it originally said how whiteness poses the greatest threat to US democracy, and he changed it to how Jewishness poses the greatest threat to US democracy.
Yeah.
And there's also...
How was he able to use the same typeface? That's amazing.
Very smart. He's got a computer. Look at the kerning and everything. It's all lined up.
It's brilliant.
It's great, actually. Yeah, it is. Yeah. So yeah, this is from the Washington Post. They originally said America's problem is white people keep backing the Republican Party. He changed it to America's problem is
So you
Jewish
think that
people.
that's what they're saying? They're saying they're basically, transposing. People are really thinking Jews.
No, what he's saying is, like, look, you're allowed to be completely overtly, openly anti-white, and it's like celebrated. It's, like whiteness is a pandemic. So this is pretty evil stuff. I thought it was funny. The whiteness of wealth, why black Americans pay higher taxes. It's it's nuts.
So you're saying, let's try to focus more on the Jew thing rather than the white thing, because am I more Jewy than white?
I don't know. Some people say it's the same thing.
Yeah. But right now it is the same, and then we'll switch. That's the problem with being a Jew.
Yeah.
Is we switch teams. That's why people don't like us. We switch
Well, it is.
sides.
I've never sort of understood anti-Semitism. It's like even the things that people say, the conspiracy theories that people say.
Yeah.
It's like they're running they say, they're running the banking system. They're running the. It's like, well, they're providing order. They're bringing order to chaos.
Yeah.
They're providing a good service. Like, what's the issue here? They're not blowing anything up. They're not molesting anybody. There's no sort of grooming gangs. It's the people seem to be angry about success.
A grooming gang's bad.
Oh yeah, they are. I mean, well, if you're a far right extremist like me, if you're a Labour voter, then you probably think they're amazing.
Well, what is your question? And I will answer it.
So the question is, why is anti-Semitism still seen as acceptable by so many people on the far right and also on the left as well?
It's not that anti-Semitism is acceptable. It's that people actually have negative feelings about the Jews. And they have positive feelings about the Jews. It's because the Jews
are... Great films?
Great films, great people. Lewis Schaffer, they love Lewis Schaffer. Great comedians.
Yeah. Woody Allen.
Great inventions. We invented all this stuff and we do a lot of stuff. But there's also a lot of hostility to the Jews.
Yeah.
Basically because the Jews are a gasket people. We're the little thing that goes in between the head block and the engine.
I wasn't sure what you said there.
Yeah, I think that's... I'm impressed that I know that stuff that's all manly. But basically, with that little bit of cork that goes between the two pieces of metal.
Right.
And then when there's a problem, when it gets too hot and you have to pull them off.
Yeah.
Okay?
You have to pull off Jews.
Yes. On one side or the other side. Sometimes it sticks to one side, sometimes it sticks to the other side. And that's the thing.
You just pull them off, it's going to be sticky.
Yeah, and then they got to scrape it away. The point is that the Jews... The reason why people don't like the Jews, and Nietzsche said this, is that no one ever says, I hate you because you're better than me. I think that's almost a direct quote from Friedrich Nietzsche, the great German philosopher.
Right.
Okay? And the Jews are successful. That's why it bothers them. And we are successful.
But Nietzsche said nobody says, I hate you because you're more successful than me. But that is the...
No, I hate you. No one says, I hate you because you're less successful.
Right, yeah.
What did I say that wrong?
More successful.
So
that makes more sense.
Yeah.
People have that.
But also, no one says that because you wouldn't want to say that.
Yeah.
Right, I said it the right way the first time, which is no one says, I hate you because you're more successful than I am. Because that's envy, and that's one of the lowest emotions you can have is envy.
Oh, so people don't say it, but they...
But they feel it deep in their kishkas.
Yeah.
They feel like, you, Leo, are doing so much better than I am. Why are you doing better than I am? Do you have friends with people? Do you do this? Do you do that? Right? And that's where the negativity comes in. And that's with the Jews. Do you have an unfair advantage? Do you don't follow the rules? Why are you more successful? So that's what they don't say that. Second, so they don't. That's the reason. The reason is, but the most important reason is the Jews are able to switch teams. and sides. Is that we go into a country and we'll join with who's ever winning, and then when that side starts losing, we'll join the other side.
But it hasn't sort of resulted in a big expansion of the sort of Jewish population, because if you look at world demographics, somebody pointed out, so Kanye West has got 17 million Twitter followers, or he did before his
which
account.
is, you're going to say, I didn't hear this, but there's just more than there are Jews.
There's more than there are Jews. There's like, what, 14, 15 million Jews?
Possibly, yeah. And we're constantly losing people right and left. Because it's not good to be a Jew. It's not worth it.
So what, people are like, do you mean people are actually leaving the Jewish...
Yeah.
The Jewish religion?
Yeah, but they leave.
I thought, but Jew is a race. Like, there's 50 million Jewish, like, people who are, Jewish, not as a religion, but as a race.
Everybody, if you do a genetic testing of all the people, let's say in Britain, probably there's, 10 million Brits who have some kind of Jewish blood in them. They don't leave directly. They don't say, here's my membership card. I'm not going to be a member of the Jews anymore.
Right.
I'm not going to eat bagels and lox. I'm going to eat pastrami with mayonnaise. Is that you have kids, and if the kids aren't raised Jewish, then they don't feel that Jewish. And because it's very hard to be a Jew, with the slings and arrows of the Jewish thing, is they don't even feel it. Like my kids barely feel Jewish.
Right.
Then I don't think they feel Jewish. It takes a lot. In order to be Jewish, you have to actually believe in this stuff. You have to like you are Scottish, right?
Yeah.
Even you with your kind of wonky background in Scotland, right? People who are in Scotland, let's say you're a normal Scottish person.
Well, my parents are English, and before that, my grandparents are from Tel Aviv.
Really?
No. No, so my parents are English. My dad's like half Scottish by sort of ethnicity.
How Scottish do you feel you are?
I'm sorry. I've got the accent.
Yeah.
So I don't really have much choice. I think if you've got an accent, then you've just got to be that nationality.
Do they think of you as being Scottish, those people?
But in Scotland, people think of me as a very sort of anglicised. Even before I moved down here, I was,
You're anglicised,
I was a bit English.
So you weren't one of them. Were you one of them?
Yeah, well, I kind of was one of them. Yeah.
You were.
I was Scottish. I mean, there's a lot of people from England moved to Scotland.
Yeah. And so over time they became one of them. So you can't help but be Scottish.
People who fail their lives in England have nowhere left to go.
You have to be told, to be a Jew, you've got to be told that they're coming to get you. Right. And you have to be told that over and over again. Otherwise, you're not Jewish. That's what to me it means to be a Jew. So it's like if you're English, you're told you're English. You don't have to work at being English. You don't have to go to a place to learn how to be English. You're just English.
Yeah.
You're seeped in it.
Yeah.
And like with being Jewish, you have to be seeped in it. Like I was seeped in it. And unless you're seeped in it, you're not. And that's how people grow up. They marry a non-Jewish person and their children are not seeped in it. So the number of actual people who are related to the Jews who have Jewish ancestry are huge.
Right.
Basically.
Yeah.
I decided to side with the Jews when I was young. It was a good time, it was Woody Allen.
New York. You grew up in New York, so I guess it's a good place to be Jewish.
It was a good time, yeah. Woody Allen, whose famous quote was 90% of success is just showing up.
Yeah.
And the other 10% is not having sex with your children. Or your wife's children.
He's 90% successful then.
Yeah, he's 90% successful.
So that's good.
The 10% has sort of derailed him a bit, but the point. So that's the answer to your question. Did I answer it coherently?
No, that was a good answer. And
envy,
and also I've noticed that there's a lot of misinformation with around anti-Semitism. So I used to date a lassie. She was like she's Scottish, but she was Afghan Indian heritage, and she had some friends who were like full on like Muslim and stuff. Her family's that Muslim background. But one of our friends, I remember we were going for a coffee and stuff, no booze obviously, but we were going for a coffee, and our friend was banging on about Palestinian rights and Israel and Zionism and stuff, and I was like, but I said, but the 6 Day War and when all the countries round about Israel tried to wipe out and drive the Jews into the sea or whatever. And she just looked at me like, what are you talking about? She had all these like really firmly held beliefs about Israel. Didn't know the first thing about Israel.
So she hadn't heard about the 6 Day War.
She hadn't heard of the 6 Day War.
Yeah.
Or, any of them, the Yom Kippur War or anything like that.
Yes, but similarly, I never heard that there were actually Palestinian Christians and Arabs living in this, what is now the state of Israel. I thought it was always like, it was like vacant land almost. Yeah, it sounds almost funny. I have a Palestinian friend, and he told me this, and I saw a map in a book of all the Palestinian settlements that you could say that they left, willingly or something.
Well, this is the thing. So somebody was telling me that so the countries round about Israel. This is sort of what I understand of the 60s, where the countries round about Israel were like, right, we're gonna go into Israel. We're military. We're huge countries. This is just a tiny country. We're gonna go in there. We're gonna wipe everyone out. So Palestinians, whoever, get off the land, get out the way. We're coming through with our tanks, and once we've knocked them all out, then you can come back and take the land, take ownership of the land. And it didn't work like that. They lost. Like Israel spanked their ass in like 6 days.
But we don't know if that's completely true. A case could be made that maybe the Jews who were living there spread fear amongst those places, because that's what happens. That's what happens in war.
This is just what I've been told by
and they didn't let them.
Jewish guy.
They didn't let them move back in.
Yeah, and this is the thing. But then afterwards, my mate was saying, like afterwards, they're like, "Oh wait, can we come back?"
Yeah.
And it's like, well,
you left already.
You left. You
left. Somebody living.
It's a war, and that side lost. But that's one way of looking at it.
But my father had a business partner who was living in, I think he was living in Munich. My father. He was a Palestinian. My father, a client, possibly, I don't what you'd call him, but a business guy who was living in. He was a Palestinian who was living in Munich, in the apartment house where my father's secretary had once lived in the house, but she had been kicked out because of the Holocaust by the Germans. So it's one of those things. It's just the world is just so horribly, horribly unfair.
Yeah.
But whatever the Jews do, it's okay.
Yeah, can't argue with that. Funnily enough, there's a Jewish comedian who had something to say about Kanye West. I thought this was a funny bit.
Kanye West out here, he's like, Jews run the bank. Next day, no bank. You go, all right. Right, very subtle, Jewish friends. He goes, Jews run the media. They run social media. Next day, no social media. You go, I'm Jewish. I'm like, guys, stop. Stop it. Figure out a different way to handle this shit. You're not helping with the conspiracies here. Kanye West out here, he's like, Jews run the bank. Next day, no bank.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, funny bit.
Well, that's actually bullshit, really. Sorry.
Yeah, but it's comedy. It's like comedy is never like comedy, an objective truth.
But it is not. But it is not. It's not proper. I know it's comedy, but it's not a proper. It's a fallacious argument.
Yeah, it's comedy. It's not an objective truth. He's like making a daft, a dumb point.
But that doesn't mean that the Jews don't control the banks. They might, or the Jews don't control the media. It looks like we do.
He's saying it looks like this is feeding into the conspiracy.
Yeah, but the truth is that see, the thing about Kanye is I don't know what he said before then that made people attack him. I don't know.
He said that I'm going DEFCON 3 on the Jewish people.
No, he said
other stuff as well.
What happened before that made him get to that point?
I'm not sure, but that's like a policeman turning up at a domestic violence and being like, well, what did you say to wind him up?
Sorry.
You shouldn't have punched your wife. Here's so Kanye, after I think this is after the social media storm, he appeared on this podcast, not this podcast, a different podcast, and he spoke to somebody.
All the assholes that fucked you over in the music industry, fuck artists over in the music industry, are individuals. They're not Jews. They are Jewish. It doesn't. They're.
And it's also sad to see that Kanye West has obviously got a job as a painter and decorator there.
Oh, I didn't see. I wasn't watching what he was wearing.
Look.
Oh, I see. Well, in this country, he looks. Oh, he's got paint on it. Does he have paint on his thing?
That's what everyone, when they're doing paint and decorating, that's what they all wear.
But he looks like he actually has paint on his thing.
Yeah, he looks homeless. A homeless painter.
Well, he's lost a lot of money.
Well, he has. Adidas dropped him. Adidas, ironically, a company founded by the Nazis.
Yeah, sure.
They dropped him. I couldn't believe, but the deal that they had, it brought in $1.7 billion in revenue for Adidas in 2020.
And it brought in that much money, and they
In
still dropped it.
In 1 year.
They couldn't find out. Please, Kanye, can you change it a little bit? 1.7, obviously not run by Jews.
Well, it took 10 days to drop him.
I don't know what the story is. Kanye is very distressed. He's
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. Everybody's like, oh, be kind. Make accommodations for people with mental health issues. Be understanding. We all need to speak about it more and open up more and be more tolerant and caring.
Yeah.
But then whenever somebody actually that's all right if somebody has the mental health issues with like, oh, I think I need a day under the duvet at home watching Grey's Anatomy or whatever. Some sort of bullshit like feeling a bit blue mental health issue, which isn't really a mental health issue. Everybody gets a bit sad sometimes. But somebody's got a real mental health issue, making a tinfoil hat and like talking about the Jews on Twitter and stuff, and like destroying his entire life, destroying all his relationships, all his money and everything. That's somebody, and then turning up dressed like that, that's somebody with mental health issues. And nobody's being tolerant or understanding. They're all like, nah, screw this guy, we're going to throw him right under the bus.
Well, so what are you saying? Is there some kind of undercurrenting kind of thing that's trying to destroy this guy?
Well, I'm saying we shouldn't be nice to people with mental health issues in the first place. We shouldn't, and we shouldn't spread the message that you should be nice, because if we're not going to do it, then it's a pointless
We should do
message.
it all the time. You're saying we should be consistent with people with mental health issues.
If you're gonna, mental health issues isn't just like, a girl crying or whatever. It's like a guy being crazy. Men's mental health issues tend to manifest in violent outbursts and things like that. And it's not pleasant.
No. But you want to know something? I don't know what his diet is, but I actually believe in mental health issues now.
But do you think it's linked to his diet? Do you think he needs to go on a carnivore diet?
We'll have to find out. I don't know what he's eating. Maybe Google. Is he a carnivore? Is he a vegan?
It doesn't look like a vegan. He's a little bit chubby. But in case, like, I wasn't recording.
What do you mean? No, that's not
the first 15 minutes of this podcast, I wasn't recording, but Lewis was telling us all about his diet, and it was really interesting, because you only eat meat, eggs, fish.
I eat a little bit of fish. I eat a little bit of fish and cheese.
Cheese, butter, dairy.
And whatever, yogurt and cottage cheese and things.
Yeah.
So because I see this and I see how my mental clarity has improved. So when Andrew Tate said there's no such thing as depression, I basically agree with that concept. But there is underlying mental illness that's caused by bad food, mostly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the bipolar disorder.
And lifestyle, not exercise, and also not having positive relationships and a positive life. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to have. Life is hard, especially now that everything's atomized. Society's atomized. You're not growing up in a tribe where you've got your position already there and people are nurturing you. You're very sort of on your own in Western society, and you've got to find your own tribe, and then hope you surround yourself with good people. The family structure's broken down, and this very individualistic life and very individualistic sort of job roles, whereas before, if you're a fishing community, you go out with your uncle fishing and all that sort of stuff. Now, you go work in a call centre on your own, you're not paid enough money. There's some guy, in a Ferrari getting all the money. And I can see why people vote for Corbyn sometimes. Yeah. But if you work your way through the system and find nurturing relationships. God, I hate to sound like I'm from California, but and also live a healthy lifestyle. Not so much drugs and booze and stuff like that, but stuff that's going to be good for you. I think you can avoid depression and stuff.
Well, yes. I mean, I'm not saying that.
Right.
I'm not saying that.
You're saying it's just meat.
I'm saying, no, I'm actually agreeing with you.
Right.
So I take that back. We'll cut that bit where I say I'm not agreeing with you.
No.
Is that people, I don't believe in broken machines.
Right.
I don't believe someone has depression. I believe someone is under the influence of a lot of negative, bad things.
Yeah.
Which is taking a normal machine, which could be normal again, with what you're saying, being in a tribe, having a place, having love, eating the right food, getting exercise, sun, being grounded to the earth electrically, having the right vitamins and nutrients. So I don't think anybody's machine is broken where they have a lifetime of that.
Yeah, and guidance is coming out now that says that a lot of people on antidepressants don't need to be on antidepressants.
Yeah.
And I see this a lot with people I know, especially women in their 30s. I don't know what it is with women in their 30s, but they like drinking, having casual sex, being incredibly depressed, and taking antidepressants.
You know what it's like, women in their 30s. They're not fulfilling what they believe is their place in the world.
Well, they've been fed this sort of lie of like, you got to be like a man, but not just any man. You got to be like Charles Bukowski. You got to be like James Bond. It's like,
which is the least likely kind of men for them to be like.
Yeah. So I see it with my own eyes. I don't see it bringing them joy and fulfillment and stuff like that. And but you go, man, don't ever say that to them. Jesus.
I know, we just said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of unhappiness with women. I feel bad for them, really. I mean, I feel bad for women. They've been sold a bill of goods, and the bill of goods is not delivering for them. But then they go into the doctor, and the doctor gives them a pill, and then they swear by the pill, even though tests of, I think, controlled studies have shown that it doesn't work. Yeah. I was given pills just a couple of years ago. I went into the doctor. She looked at me and she said, "You're depressed."
Right. She can tell I'm looking at you.
And I am depressed. I am. I'm a miserable cow.
Yeah, but you're a comedian.
I guess so. What does that mean? Anyway, so I'm a person. And she says, "You're depressed. Here are pills." I say, "I'm not taking any pills." Next thing I know, they're actually, I go to the pharmacy and they give them to me.
And what were the pills like? You took them?
They begin with a C, that your bog standard.
Citalopram.
Citalopram,
yeah, for like social anxiety and depression,
Yeah.
A lot of people are on that.
I believe that they are.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, I got the package. I didn't think she was going to send them to my pharmacy, but I picked them up. And I said to myself, if I take one of these pills, I'm going to take two. If I take two, I'm going to take them for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And so every single day, I looked at the pill and I made a conscious decision not to take this pill. Right. And I walked to the loo and I threw it down the toilet.
Right.
And so the rest of
people put pills down the toilet? Now that stuff's in the water system. No, I'm eating your citalopram.
Well, I am too.
And now I'm addicted to tap water.
Yeah.
Got to drink 5 gallons a day just to stay happy.
I hadn't thought about it, but in retrospect, what should I have done with the pills?
You put them in the bin. They're not a liquid.
Yeah, but then they get washed away. They get done the same thing. It goes into the
because it goes at a landfill site. And those sites are chosen because geologically they're sealed.
What, because they've got the clay, maybe?
Yeah, clay, rock, something like that. But I was on, when I was 17, because I got run over by a truck and stuff, and I went through all this trauma, and I was on drugs and stuff, and I took antidepressants. They actually really worked for me. And so I think there's obviously times when they're necessary, like they're really, like my brain just wasn't working right. It was like, just physically, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, couldn't get a boner, all this stuff. And they really sort of brought that life, it's that springtime feel. Yeah. Like when you wake up and you just feel like, you want to run up a hill kind of thing.
Yes.
It brought back that.
I got the same feeling from MDMA and ketamine.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Of course, that's what drugs do. They make you feel good. How did you get off of it? That's the question.
I used a lot of heroin.
Yeah, how did you get off of it?
I just had to taper myself off them.
And was it hard to do to taper themselves off?
Well, you know what? It wasn't hard to come off them, but then like about maybe 6 months after, I wasn't like I was before, but I wasn't as happy as when I was on them.
Yeah, exactly. So you spent the rest of your life being less happy, and then you wished you had never taken them.
No, I wish I could go back on them.
Yeah, but they only work for a short time, and then it's just the same old.
But yeah,
so you can't win.
But they really work. But I think what also happened, because so much stuff is situational as well. Your situation has such an impact on your mental health. And what I did was I went and worked, did a summer job in America when I was a student, doing it as a door-to-door salesman. So I was out in the sunshine in America, just knocking on people's doors, meeting people, talking. It was really fun. And so I think that also had that.
So you were saying the NHS should prescribe trips to America,
holidays in America, working holidays in America.
Yeah. So basically, you basically told me it doesn't really work. In the long term, it doesn't work. It made you feel good at that moment.
But it worked before that.
Were you planning on committing the S word?
No.
Were you whatever self-deletion, whatever we call it on the internet?
No. Not seriously, I think.
No, okay, so...
But I was like, I'd suddenly... Like,
I'd
suddenly vomit. Stuff like that. I'd suddenly vomit.
Do you remember how you felt when you'd had a drink of beer?
Yeah, I used to drink a lot to sort of
the same
try
way.
and cheer
In the beginning.
Cheer myself up.
So you say, oh my God, you wouldn't come to me and say, Lewis, I got this most amazing thing. It's made out of grain. They put it in the vats and then they ferment it, which is.
If you hadn't had beer, I would.
Yeah.
I would have come to you and say, like, you've got to try beer. It's amazing. I tried it. Somebody gave it to me.
You wouldn't do it. You would do it because you know how bad it is in the long term.
It's not but like a few beers.
A few beers, but you'd have to say to me, Lewis, just only have a few beers, don't go crazy.
Yeah. If you have too much,
there's a limit to this.
Yeah, the doctor would prescribe, the appropriate amount of beer to cheer you up.
And the appropriate amount of citalopram is 2 weeks worth, and then take it away from you. But they don't take it away from you. They can't take it away from you. I mean, look what happened to what's his name, Jordan Peterson. He was destroyed by.
He was on like barbiturates or opiates or something.
No, it was Valium type drugs.
Right,
some Klonopin or whatever.
Yeah.
And I have a friend of mine who was addicted to that. You can't even use the word addicted to it.
But I met Jordan Peterson. There's this like sort of private speaking event for some people.
Yeah.
And he spoke at it, but he seemed very bitter and angry about all the people who said mean things about him online. And it sounded like that was. All that criticism really hurt him and made him. I don't know if that was why he was taking these, to blot out the pain of people. But I don't know why people take social media that seriously, especially someone like Jordan Peterson.
So you were saying in this late date, like it happened recently, right? Like recently, like this year.
So
Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, it was like.
So he's bitter right now.
Like a month ago.
That's weird, really.
Yeah, I was really surprised because I thought he'd be. You always assume somebody who's from your tribe. He's going to have the same, I thought he was going to be ultra free speech, ultra, libertarian and stuff, and he wasn't. He was like, we need to restrict speech on in YouTube comments and Twitter.
But isn't he against compelled free speech?
Yeah.
Isn't he? That's so weird. And could it be because Jordan Peterson has spent many years in that kind of school environment watching what he says?
Oh, in a very sort of structured, rigid environment where you're following a curriculum. When he was a teacher, and you've got your authoritarian figure, the headmaster.
But no, not that. More like if I say something wrong, people will come down on me. And he said that many times. He says, you've said offensive things to people. He says, show me the offensive things. Because I've been so conscientious with my words. So maybe because he's been so conscientious with his words, he expects other people to be conscientious with their words, to play the same game.
But we don't all want to be like that. Like Bill Burr. He seems like, I'm sure a lot of thought goes into what he says, but he's also like a much more sort of reactive, shoot from the hip kind of guy. And I like hearing from somebody like that.
But he isn't. He isn't. I mean, if you listen to, I call him Billy Burr because I remember when he was Billy Burr.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So was he when you were in New York doing stand-up?
Yeah.
Coming up
was he that way? Not the same. I think like with Jordan Peterson, Bill Burr has learned how to say certain things.
Right.
And also he has learned, and we as comedians have learned how to say certain things and get out of it. If we say something that's offensive, we know, or usually know, how to try to get out of it by expressing maybe what the true meaning of the joke was, that it was a joke, that, we know who to attack. Like he does a lot of business about white women.
Yeah.
White women, right? So that's basically who you can attack in this world, white men and white women. He seems more revolutionary because he's attacking white women.
Yeah, well, this made me laugh. So while we're talking, because there's also, related to Kanye West, actually unrelated to Kanye West, but in the same kind of vein, people were saying you can't say globalist anymore because it's an anti-Semitic slur. So Sam Friedman, for example, great intellectual, possibly, no idea, but he says anyone saying globalist as a term of abuse is using an anti-Semitic slur and shouldn't be invited to appear on radio or TV in any capacity. And somebody just pulled up this. It's a tweet from Sam Friedman a couple of years ago, describing people as globalists. So it's a new thing. It's this language policing that's coming, and I think they're obviously doing it to suppress any discussion of globalism or calling anybody out.
Not necessarily. I know possibly, but also words over time they take on certain meanings.
Yeah.
That it wasn't meant to be offensive. Certain words were used normally.
Yeah.
Like the way black people were called back in the day, and then they became offensive over time.
Yeah. Through use, same with the slurs again. Ableist slurs like the R word. Stuff like that.
That was meant to be a nice word.
Yeah, it came in to replace the nasty words that people were using to call, handicapped or disabled people or whatever. And then it became, and even with, the charity for people with cerebral palsy, the Spastic Society, it was called the Spastic Society back in the 80s. But then obviously the schoolyards, all the kids are running around calling each other that word.
Yeah. And
so they changed the name to Scope.
Right.
And then all the kids were just running around calling each other Scopies.
You can't.
You're never going to be able to police out the human urge to be a horrible prick.
No, it's impossible. I mean, what do you do? And the thing is, because I'm getting so old, I'm getting just exhausted with the whole thing. It's like when I hear about Kanye West and what's happened to him, is I don't have the same vitriol towards him. As a matter of fact, I kind of take his side. And why should my people attack him? Why should he be?
Oh, and also, I think as a comedian, you always side with a person getting criticised for something they've said, no matter how it is. Chappelle had a great bit about this, about the Seinfeld guy, Kramer. I don't know what his name is in real life, but he was filmed. It was one of the early sort of comedy cancellations. Somebody filmed on their mobile phone or whatever, and he was at a gig. And he was dealing with a black heckler, and he went way off.
I saw that.
And you can see what he was trying to do. You can see he was trying to make it so ridiculous that it became okay. But that's a tough. And also, he's doing it on the fly. It's not somebody's plan.
And he's not a real comedian.
He's not a real comedian. He's a TV guy.
And that's why I felt really bad, because it was like he was in over his head.
Yeah.
He didn't have the skills.
But Chappelle said, it was interesting what Chappelle said. He was like, man, as a black guy, I was, hugely offended by what he said, but as a comedian, oh my God, I felt for him.
Yeah. He was just trying to work it out, trying to get a laugh.
Yeah.
But you can never say that. You can't put an asterisk there. Trying to get out of a bad situation. You don't know what it's like to be a comedian on the stage and at the comic strip in L.A.
Yeah, I like this tweet as well. So Leah Heilpern, I don't know who she is, but she said Heilpern. She said, I'm Jewish and I'll use the term globalist over and over because there are unelected elites setting the global agenda. Whether they're Jewish, black, white, Christian, Muslim, I don't know and I don't care. There's no Jewish agenda, but there is a global agenda. And then she follows it up with, saying Jews run the world because a handful of Jewish people are in powerful positions in America is the same as saying all black people are criminals and all Muslims are terrorists. It's absurd. I don't see the point of relevance in tarring an entire race with the same brush. She's kind of she's not making the point she thinks she's making.
No.
She's kind of making the opposite point that she thinks she's making there.
No, it's, you can't win. That's what it says. First of all, the word tarring is but she doesn't know. People don't know. And if she sits there and says, I didn't mean it that way. I didn't mean it that way. Yeah. You know what I meant it as.
Yeah.
You gotta feel for these people. But unless they're our enemies, and then you gotta say, well, you're...
Oh, and then you just try and dig in as much as you can. Right, this is a video. I know we got in trouble for a bit on GB News we did with there's a fat lass. I think we're allowed to say fat lass, aren't we? She was fat.
Yeah.
And she...
Well, first of all, before you get started, I got a total earful about this.
From who?
I can't say who, from my ex-girlfriend.
Right.
Okay. And that was considered to be very offensive.
Oh, really?
Really offensive. First of all, it wasn't on our topic, which is free speech. It has nothing to do with free speech.
Yeah, it's a representation of a face. That's a type of speech. I mean, it's a type of communication.
A communication, but it's not. It's like saying women are liars. And I think
we did say, I think I said she's a liar because basically, we'll find this video, we'll play it. The rapper 50 Cent got a surprise when he saw this transformational Instagram video and said this particular individual should be locked up. Just to describe it for anybody listening on DAB, it's a woman. She's shaved her chin, and she has painted her face, and now she looks remarkably better than when she started. So, Gila, is 50 Cent being a bit harsh? I mean, we all need a bit of makeup now and then, don't we?
Was that a woman?
It was a woman, yeah.
Oh, okay.
She just...
All right. Yeah, she looked better.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what I'm supposed to say to that. I'd like to think that if you want to wear makeup. You don't wear it. I don't know. Do we need to make videos of it to show everybody?
So Gila completely approves of this obfuscation of the truth. Lewis, do you think? What do you think of this? I mean, because this is like
It makes her feel better.
You see somebody's dating profile picture. It quite often, that can be the contrast between the reality.
I personally I believe it's better to be fake beautiful than real ugly.
Now,
I'm going to tell you what the problem with that segment was.
What was the problem with that segment?
All women think they look like that woman.
They all think they look bad.
Yes. Every single woman.
Before they put makeup on.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And then makeup.
She did. She did look bad before she put makeup on.
But your wife thinks she looks that way. My God.
Well, I'm always telling my wife she looks better without makeup, because she does. She looks better without makeup.
She doesn't feel that way.
When women put makeup on, it just looks. So they start off hot. They end up hot, but like lots of makeup on. It just looks. Makeup hides everything, so they could be ugly underneath. So we just assume they're wearing so much makeup because they're ugly.
Yeah.
So
no, you assume they're wearing, because they can say, for you to say that to a woman, they don't believe that. They don't believe that. What they think beauty is the work that they put into it.
Right.
So,
okay.
So the way you can
artists.
that it's artists, it's their creativity.
Right.
If you say you look like you've put a lot of effort into it, I'm not sure. I said this to one girl that this is what they want to hear.
Tread very carefully.
Yes, you tread carefully.
You look like you put a lot of effort into covering up.
You look
how ugly
amazing. You really have a tremendous flair for fashion. I love what you did to your hair.
That's smooth talking.
Okay, this is what you have to do. If you say, I like you better that way, they all think, and this is why this situation was so problematic. This is why my girlfriend got really angry at you.
And did you say something bad about, but I didn't even say anything bad. I didn't say she's fat.
You said she lies.
Yeah.
Right. So what my ex-girlfriend said to me, she said that something's wrong with this show when you, Lewis Schaffer, seem like you're a sympathetic, caring person. When you get a round of applause, and you are I'm a horrible person.
Yeah.
Right.
But what you said, I consider to be, as horrible as what. The thing is, people will never get so angry. They'll get the thing that makes them most angry out of anything is the truth. The truth, an unpleasant truth that we all have to tiptoe around. Yeah. It's like, no, this lassie, she's fat, she had to shave her chin, now she's painted her face, and she looks good, and it's a lie. Yeah. It's a lie.
Yeah, but
it's
then
like it's like me dressing, turning up on a date, dressed like a doctor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When I'm working in the petrol station.
You're allowed to be criticized for that, but a woman isn't.
Yeah.
Women, I'm sorry, they're a protected class of people, and they're very, you know what it is? I don't like women. But you have to be very sensitive. They're sensitive creatures. Yeah. You don't want to hurt their feelings. And all women, they think of themselves as that way.
Right.
And they take pride in the distance that they've come from being an ugly, whatever it is, from being Cinderella. It's Cinderella. They all want to be Cinderella. Look at Kim Kardashian. She's always showing how she puts on makeup like this, what she does to put on makeup. And she's Kim Kardashian. She's got no pride in that way. She's proud that she has it's you, Leo, or me, we can become head of Apple or head of, any company.
It's looking likely.
Yeah, looking likely. It won't be as much as a woman putting on her lippy properly.
What I said, I was helping a comedian with a bit, and the bit was about how women, sort of lie with makeup. And I made the point, and it's basically a true point. It's not even like a comedy thing.
Yeah.
But like women complain about the amount of effort it takes to put on, to make themselves presentable in the morning. When they actually don't need, they look better without makeup. But women
generally
complain.
speaking,
some women take like an hour putting on makeup in the morning before they go to work, and it's like they complain about that amount of time and the expense and all the rest of it. But for a man to reach that level of attractiveness, for a man to become that attractive, you've got to study. You got to study law. You got to pass the bar. You got to become a partner in a law firm. You got to get a Ferrari, a big house in the Hamptons, and all the rest of it. It's like, man, I wish I could just put on the doctor's outfit and turn up and be like,
But, you're totally right, and that's funny. But at the end of the day, when you add up how much time a woman actually spends on her being beautiful and her filling her sort of feminine obligations, it's as much time as we do in trying to make a living. Plus, you've added on to the fact that women have to work now, too. Yeah. So maybe a case could be made that women have to work a lot. I'm being sympathetic to women.
Oh, yeah, no, I think they do. And I think, the sort of the modern contract or whatever you call it, is really sort of balanced against women. It's really in men's favour. And we're also adding on to it, like at least they used to have, safe spaces and stuff. We used to know what a woman was.
Yeah.
And they used to, but now men are, going into their jails and going into their sports, and or males are going
that's something different. That's payback time for them coming into our spaces.
But let's get you in more trouble with your girlfriend, because there's this other lassie I found who we'll watch the video. She's talking about dating preferences.
For our American viewers,
let's talk about dating.
Wait, let them know that lassie is what Scottish people call a girl.
I'm not talking about a crime-fighting dog. This is we don't. I know I'm from Scotland, but we I don't have sex with all animals. Just sheep.
But just also keep in mind that Lassie in the movies was actually a boy dog.
Oh, was it? Why was he called Lassie? Transgender dog, very ahead of his time. Getting his cock out on Channel 4. Yeah. It's very progressive. Thanks for listening. Tune in again next week. I'm going to do one of these every week, and there's always going to be a chunk on YouTube and a chunk on my Patreon to try and get people to sign up to my Patreon and give me money so I can buy food and finally realise my dreams. So if you want to see the missing, hidden bit that you haven't seen, you got to sign up to my Patreon. I probably could have explained that better. Basically, there's more stuff on Patreon that's just...
So basically, you're withholding the good stuff. It's bribing them.
This was the week when comedians, memorials and newsreaders were cancelled, but Boris might be uncancelled, and we found out that it's all right to get your penis out if you're trans. Which reminds me, I'm trans! Okay.